Greetings and welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. I'm Phyllis Hollis, your host. As an extension of my Instagram page, Cerebral Women, this podcast offers insights into the visual art world. I interview artists, mainly artists of color and female artists, who will freely articulate what inspires their creativity. In addition, you'll hear interesting perspectives from dedicated art professionals who work with artists and the art institutions that feature them. I'm confident that collectively, these individuals will indeed stimulate your mind as they do our eyes. Please know these interviews are conducted in my Manhattan apartment, so please forgive the background sounds of city life. Welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. In this episode, I feature New York City-born multidisciplinary artist Sylvia Maier. Drawing since the age of 7, her work is very much influenced by her experiences of growing up biracial on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Known for her portraiture, much of her work focuses on depicting residents of the Flatbush area of Brooklyn, where she lived for 3 decades. Her art bridges the gap between cultures as expressed in her still life and multi-figural life-size paintings. She graduated with a bachelor's in fine arts from the School of Visual Arts in New York City and also attended the National Academy of Design and the New York Academy of Art. Sylvia also studied extensively at the Art Student League under the tutelage of Ron Shear and as a protege of the influential figurative painter Harvey Dinnerstein. She is a recipient of the Greenshield Award. Previous exhibitions include solo presentations at the Parrish Art Museum in Southampton, New York, Bernaducci Gallery in New York, Forum Gallery in Frankfurt, Germany, and Fairleigh Dickinson University in New Jersey, to name a few. Welcome and enjoy this episode featuring Sylvia Maier. Sylvia, welcome to my Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm excited to feature you. When did you discover your artistic passion?
It's interesting. The word passion for me signifies a lot of external energy. And I always felt that the word passion is not quite what I've ever felt. I just feel like it just is. And I just listen and I just follow. And I had a feeling of stillness as a child. And that stillness is where I think all this creativity comes from. And always a feeling that I wanted to return to it, which was something that was very much ingrained in me, and a quietness and an essence. So I've never really felt overcome with an emotion or the way they express artists through movies are somehow we're just so emotional and out of control and flailing about. And I find that it's always been quite the opposite for me. It's always been, as a child, retreating into myself, kind of closing off all my other senses to be with myself. And that comfortableness with being inside of myself is always where I feel best at. And I think that's what I think art is that really that essence of a person.
Have you ever thought about what career choice you would have made if you weren't an artist?
I think I would have joined a monastery. I think I would have, or something to do with music, or the arts, or writing, or public service, something with activism. I think that those are, I could have seen myself as going down the road of maybe being a lawyer to being a monk. Or something. Yes, I think that injustice has always really bothered me, and I've always felt compelled to do something. And that I remember even as a kid when I was in elementary school, seeing another child that was disabled and was being verbally abused by a teacher, and going to the principal and saying, this is horrible situation, how they're screaming at this child. And then I got sent home, and I was in trouble for that. And I think that really had a big impact on speaking up for people that I felt were suffering, and the insensitivity to other people's suffering, and feeling that was really a calling.
How would you define your practice?
So the process of painting is usually an image. It starts with an image, or I'll see something in a situation and feel very compelled by it. It might provoke a very strong reaction in me, a very strong emotional reaction. And that's really where I want everything to come from. So if I have a strong aesthetic feeling or visual interest in something through the way that it is kind of composed naturally, I will be attracted to that, or a feeling that I get. Mostly it's a feeling. If I see a scene and I'm outside, I will feel an impulse to want to put it down. And usually I will remember it or sketch it down and go to the studio and recreate it with photographs. I'll have my husband take the photographs, and I will recreate a scene so that I can kind of compose it myself, or I'll take what I saw and try to recreate it with models. So it's very interdisciplinarian, where I will find the right models that I think will suit the scene, or I will ask people that were actually in the scene that I witnessed to come to my studio and pose for me. Well, when I was in Brooklyn, I would just meet people in my neighborhood, or my neighbors would say, oh my goodness, this person is like somebody I know you'd want to paint. But I'll ask people to come to the studio. And if that's not possible, being a woman, sometimes it's a little scary. You can't just ask everybody over to your place, unfortunately, because misinterpret when you say somebody's beautiful as like a come on, So I will have friends that are in the arts, like actor friends. My friend Kelly, who was on The Wire, she's posed for me many times, and she recreated the scene for me. I wanted to do the scene that I saw, and so I had a few models come in, and then I set it up, and Andre will take the photo, and then I'll play around, and I'll try to see which is the strongest composition. I'll sketch it out. I'll do like a few thumbnails, and then I will ask the models to come back and pose from life so that I can have a color study or actual painting of them so that it stays fresh. And that's usually, the way it works. Like the bicycle thief, I saw that scene in Prospect Park when I was hanging out by the drummers circle. And there was a young guy on this muscle bike. Remember the muscle bikes? I guess California, LA, they have a lot of muscle bikes, but I had a lot of bikes stolen. So, but anyway, this was a muscle bike, and he was like on it and kind of fronting with it. And this little kid saw it, and he was so kind of awestricken by the bicycle. And I just remember thinking, oh, don't be so attracted to these smoking mirrors, And as I was watching the scene, I saw this figure in the back, and I took a picture. And then later, when I got to the studio, I looked at the photo, and I saw it had this kind of like angel-like feeling of a figure in the background. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. Things that spark your imagination. And the image started to reveal itself to me, where now I was seeing it a little differently. I was seeing it as a Black mother who has a Black son, and how you hope that, when your kids are out there in the world, that there's some kind of angel looking out for them, like there's some kind of guardian somehow. And it just kind of revealed itself like that to me. I suppose that was just from my own subconscious and the times that we're living in. So I took a minute to actually put it down like that, because I didn't want to get too outrageous with it, right? Like the scene alone was interesting, but that's how I felt. And I said, fuck it. I'm going to put it down like that because God presented it to me like that. And that feels to be like the thing that my heart is responding to. So that is how that happened. So I feel that it's like a call and response relationship.
Interesting. Do you listen to music while you're working?
I love music. I really, Phyllis, I love great music, and I love the emotion that is conveyed through great music. I love the grit, that feeling where you're just like, oh my God, when you hear an amazing vocalist and they just hit a note, or they're just really raw and chesty and just like, oh my God, or it just like slaps you down, or you're like, holy shit, right? Or like a Jimi Hendrix riff.
Yes.
It's just like, what is that? And that's the feeling I want to have with my work. I want to have that feeling of that, just like, I got something for you, like, I just want to, it's so deep and it's so cellular, and your whole body is vibrating to it. And you know that you're in the proximity of something that's great, right? Like, I also like to listen to classical music, because that sometimes I don't want to get so emotionally involved with the music as I often do. So sometimes I need something that is just going to kind of sustain my energy throughout the process. I also am the queen of repeat. Back in the day where you could hit repeat, that's like my favorite thing to do. But now you can have music on a loop. So I remember for the beheading, I was listening to Public Enemy like nonstop, and that was really put me in the zone for that particular painting and a series of the Activist Row. So music is very, very important to me when I work. But now I often listen to Dharma talks by Thich Nhat Hanh, because I find that it gives me those moments to just listen. And that's very, very powerful as well.
What does your workspace look and feel like?
Well, my old workspace was in our Brooklyn brownstone on the top floor. And right now I'm in a split level. So I have moved around trying to find the right space. And it's been really challenging to change workspaces after having muscle memory of a certain space for so many years. I've been in the garage, and now I moved downstairs and then upstairs. Right now I'm on the top floor. I have wall-to-wall windows and greenery all around me. So I really feel like I'm kind of in the woods in a treehouse setting. And I've come upstairs, so it's quite lovely. It's all green, and I think it works. I really miss the urban connection, but I find that the nature is pretty nourishing too.
Do you feel Black art can be defined?
Can it be defined? Well, I think all art is Black art, because I think European art is Black art. I think every art is Black art because everything traces back to Africa. And I think when I think of Black art, I think Black art is the mothership. There's no way that it can even exist without Black. Black is the mothership. If you look at so many artists, they're reinterpreting African art, from Picasso. Basquiat copied Picasso. Picasso copied African art. The Romans copied the Greeks copied the Africans. So everything is Africa. Everything is Black. And there is no white art. I mean, there is this white aesthetic, there is this whitewashing of Blackness. But if you really go deep, you see that it comes from Africa, and that is the great unifier, you know?
How do you keep learning?
Well, I make an effort to learn by taking a class. You know, I took an écoché class at like before the pandemic hit at the League. It was, écoché is the study of the bones and the muscles in sculpture. So you build the body up from the skeleton up through sculpture. And that was very challenging for me. I obviously taken anatomy before, but sculpture was something that I always loved. And I felt like a very natural affinity to sculpture. But I had asthma as a kid. So when I would go down to the sculpture room, where I think they're the real workhorses of the art. I mean, we're all candy asses up there, you know, the painters, because we don't get dirty. We don't work like the sculptors do. They're amazing. And I wanted so badly to be with, you know, the sculpture unit, but it's like the belly of the beast, you know. And now they improved a lot of the air filtration at the Art Students League. So I said, I'm going to go and take this class. And it was amazing. And I really enjoy, you know, they call it the beginner's mind. I enjoy learning. And I just have such a respect, a reverence for all the art that's come before us and the level of excellence and understanding of the body. And I just really want to understand what I'm painting. I want to understand the figure. I want to understand the movements. And taking that class was amazing, not just for the technical information or the clumsiness of my situation, but for the enthusiasm of the teacher and the group of people learning. I think that enthusiasm is what I really I stole from that situation. So those are the things that I love to do, and the obsession with art, regardless of the art world and the art scene, that I found out later that people would actually donate their bodies to the sculpture center so that they could to the sculpture department at the League, and looking at these bones and thinking that was a former student.
Unbelievable.
It's just fascinating to me. It's just such a continuum. And that's really what I love. That really turns me on.
What are you excited about right now?
Well, I'm very excited about the new body of work I'm doing. This actual painting I'm working on is it's kind of like at first I did this painting entitled The Reader. And when I first did The Reader, I painted it with two figures. And my impetus for that was my feeling of really wanting to show women as the source of intelligence, creation, wisdom. And initially, I painted it with two figures, and then as I was developing the piece, I thought it was stronger with just one figure. And he was like looking at the book, and I was very interested in this idea of knowledge and information and accessibility to information, and those who are denied accessibility to information. And I thought about the Green Book, and I thought about how the history of slavery has kept information from us. And this interpretation of our people on social media did not reflect people that I know. And I wanted to show how important it was to get information. And so, especially as a young Black man, I really wanted him to be the one seeking knowledge, and the woman as the source of the intellectual advancement. But anyway, the painting continued and it seemed stronger with just one person. So I just did the one figure because the paintings tell you what they want, you know? And this painting said, no, I want to be alone. I just want to have one figure here looking at the book. And so now but I've always wanted to pursue the two figures because I really want the woman in this to be generating all of the wisdom and the intelligence and offering you different texts and information. And now it has two figures. I'm working on the this other version of the painting because sometimes you need to exhaust an idea, you know. Sometimes the muses want you to keep going, and so you just keep going until you hit a wall. I mean, it's a very frustrating, futile endeavor. Sometimes it's joyful, and you know, right now I'm just really thrilled to be continuing the flow of that. So I feel it's very interesting because right now in the times we're living, there's so much access to information and so much disinformation, and knowing what to look at and what to decipher through is such a feat. So I wanted to express that idea of get the information, learn the facts, and I wanted it to be a woman giving that to you. So this work, I have the woman as the foreground figure, and the other figure is looking onto her for guidance. And it's also, you know, the work is evolving. There's always a little element of these paintings that you've seen through the years that affect how you view the world. Like, you know, Rembrandt has a few paintings of the angels visiting Joseph, and also this notion that somehow you can, if you're quiet enough, you can hear messages. You know, this is kind of like the message from beyond. So I'm kind of fascinated with that. But again, these aren't things that I kind of go into necessarily with the painting, but I think that I'm very much influenced by these paintings that I've seen through the years, and this thread of that, because I'm also very conscious of what I take in, you know, what paintings I look at, what artists I look at, the books I look at. I really try to look at work that really moves me, aside from what's popular, what's new, what's hot, what's in right now. That really, I do try to shelter what I take in. You know, they say you are like the accumulation of the few people that you know in life, right? Your friends. And so I kind of look to these artists as my friends, as people I want to have a dialogue with. So I think that imagery is formed in my mind as well. And this painting is really, really interesting for me because I am kind of just following this continuum of the other piece. You know, I really don't know where it's going to go, but I'm just open and letting it kind of lead me. Yeah. So, you know, again, with the politics and the state of the world and women not really, well, I mean, we're in a shitty time we're living in right now. I mean, it's quite the mess. So I think this painting is also helping me to kind of process what's going on.
On that note, I have to ask you, and this has been a great interview. This is actually the last question. So what do you feel is the purpose of art, and what is your role?
I think that the purpose of art is about human suffering and our ability to remain hopeful, and this shared experience of our forefathers, and that they were here and they existed, and that the human condition that has been throughout the ages. And when I was just starting out painting, I remember I had this dream that I was at a beach and I was watching the waves crash on me, and what rolled up to me was a painting of Rembrandt on one side, and the other side was a map. And clearly now I understand what it meant. Like, in order to aspire to this kind of great art, there is a kind of map, a road that you take, right? And when you look at art through history, I find it very interesting that nothing is new. Everything has been done, and there's this wonderful conversation of the same suffering that people have had, that we still have, and how we handle it, and how comfortable we are with being vulnerable. I think that that's really what the art is for me, is the great art that I adore, is usually about how these artists were able to share their vulnerability, and that I find staggering. I remember seeing the Rembrandt's self-portrait at the Frick, and having that feeling, and then the Pietà, Michelangelo's Pietà, where Mary is holding Jesus, and thinking, okay, there is something else here. That this is definitely other. There is something other here. When that tapping into this other realm. So I think that that's what art really allows us to be okay with being vulnerable, and to see the power in that vulnerability.
Gives me a lot to think about. I really appreciate you opening your mind to us. Thank you so much for this interview, Sylvia.
It's been a pleasure. I thank you so much for reaching out and taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you for listening to Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. For additional content, please visit cerebralwomen.com and be sure to follow Cerebral Women on Instagram.